If we please stand, we'll have the pledge of allegiance. We'll ask Mr. George Bryant to lead us in the pledge, and then we will ask Mr. Charlie Adams to lead us in our invocation.
Let's bow our heads and lift up our hearts to you, Jesus. Help us to work together, do the city's business the best way possible, protect our citizens in all ways possible. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, let our roll call show that all present tonight. And do we have any conflicts of interest to report on this agenda? If not, are there any citizen comments? None? Okay. Then we will go on then to the report from the Neighborhood Watch. Do we have one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you want to give that for us?
We have 3 traffic offenses, 4 citizen assists or agency assists, 1 alarm, 3 assaults, 1 welfare concern, 1 stray dog, 1 civil dispute, 1 credit card abuse, and 1 suspicious activity.
Okay. Thank you.
The traffic offense, that's from the sheriff's department, right? Is that where that's from? Well, the constable had told me that they come out here a lot
But
too.
some of them,
There- yeah, the
some of them are
constable-
constable reports too.
Oh, on this one?
Yeah, it's all,
But I don't think we turned it in, but we did write 7 tickets.
See, so they've been doing some too, so it's more than just 3
But
tickets.
his name is on one
right.
traffic offense.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And so we may also want to note in there, I've seen a lot of reports of people talking about mail being stolen and UPS packages and such. People are having trouble with, so that might be something to note and maybe remind citizens right now to be very cautious.
Well, it's the time of year to be very cautious.
It is, it really is, yeah, it always happens, but just a reminder.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to our consent items. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent items that you have in your packet?
Yeah, I'll make that.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll say it.
All in favor, please say aye. Motion carried. All right, the next is the consideration approval of ordinance number 246. This is an ordinance of the City of Bell Oaks, Texas, establishing regulations relative to the storage, disposal, and maintenance of residential and commercial refuse containers and temporary storage containers within the city limits of the City of Bell Oaks, Jefferson County, Texas, and providing a penalty for violations. This is the ordinance that was presented at last council meeting, and I believe Kim has had it out on the website, and we've hopefully made it available to everybody. I know that when Kim was gone, Liz said that there were some folks that had come into the office and had asked for a copy of it, so I think it has been circulated. And as far as I know, Kim, has anyone come back with any comments that you heard?
Not written comments or anything. One of our council members opposes it strongly, but that's the only comments that I've had.
Okay then, so as far as we know, there was no need for any change. You haven't done any changes to it since
No,
it
ma'am.
was presented, okay. All right then, do I hear a motion to approve it as it was submitted to you last month and as it still stands this month? Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, is there any further discussion of this ordinance?
Well, here's the deal that I have with it. I went out and talked to the residents in my area, okay? And there's a lot of them that have been out here a long time. They're getting tired of all these ordinances that we have that we don't enforce anyway, okay? That are not enforced. We have them. We don't even know what they are, probably. I mean, we really don't even know if we have them. Probably looked for a dumpster ordinance whenever maybe we got one.
No, we don't.
But that was mishandled from the get-go, the whole thing. I mean, anytime something sits there with trash in it that long, it's automatically a health hazard. It's already covered. It's already should have been a done deal by the lawyer if he was competent. He would have, I have letters from him at my house telling me that a pile of mulch is a health hazard, dangerous for kids. Man, it went on and on and on. And we were paying him to send me these letters, okay? Now, how could a pile of mulch be a health hazard and a dumpster full of debris that sits there for months not be a health hazard? I mean, what, is there a double thing here, or is there, somebody not paying attention? Are we gonna make an ordinance every time something happens, every time, every minute detail, are we gonna micromanage it so much to where we'll get lost in the detail? We got so many details on this ordinance right here. Who's gonna go out there and see if there's any corrosion on that dumpster? Are we gonna we're gonna pay somebody to go out there and see if there's some corrosion on that dumpster?
I think what it's come down to is this is just a very all-encompassing ordinance to cover every possibility that could ever arise. I agree, I don't like a lot of ordinances. I know that there are ordinances that are ancient on there that none of us probably even know exist because it was done 50 years ago and nobody knows what's there. But if people would take personal responsibility, we wouldn't have to do ordinances. However, that's not happening.
Well, why did we need one? Why didn't our attorney send them a letter saying that it is a health hazard? Why didn't that happen? And it would be moved and it had been done. And we wouldn't be sitting here talking about an ordinance that's going to be so particular. It's not going to be enforced now, because I can tell you, you can vote for it and y'all can have it. And I'll go around and I'll check all the dumpsters. And when I find rust on them, I want to see what we're going to do.
The residential ones that are temporary don't count for the rust. The rust and corrosion were for commercial that were outside of the building.
So you're going to tell me that Botros is going to have a freshly painted dumpster out there all the
I
time?
tell you, theirs is probably locked up behind a fence so nobody can access it or see it or anything.
But we still going to say.
It's because it's an eyesore. I mean, a lot of that stuff is just because you don't want an eyesore. If it's covered behind a fence, that kind of solves that issue right there. So,
And that's the deal with that painted and rust thing. It's just to keep those people from sending an old junky one out here. There's no such thing as one that doesn't have rust or is painted completely. But if they send a trashy one out here, all we have to do when they bring it in and check in at City Hall is say, hey, that thing's too bad, it doesn't fit our ordinance, you're going to have to bring us another one. It's as simple as that. It doesn't have anything to do with running around and say, oh, you got a scratch and some rust on this one, or you got a place over here. That's what it's for.
We're going to approve that.
That's
Well,
right.
Mr. Marino, I've got a question. While you were going around asking the people what they thought, in your ward, you've got 2 garbage cans that's been out there for almost a month.
That's
Did you
supposed
talk
to
to
be,
them?
that's supposed to be handled by our, are we going to put a garbage ordinance in for the garbage cans?
No, I'm just asking you the question. Did you ask him about
I don't have any reason to check on somebody's garbage
it?
can.
He's in your ward?
I don't have any reason to check on their garbage cans. That sounds like a misfire by the people that are supposed to be picking up the trash. If you didn't pay his bill, they're supposed to take the cans up. Aren't they? I mean, wouldn't that be the thing they would do? They've taken mine away 2 times, and I'm on auto pay. I come home and don't have a trash can. And I call them up, where's my trash can? Oh, you didn't pay. I said, how can I not pay? It's on auto pay. Here comes the garbage can.
But what you're saying is you have not spoken to him about his garbage.
Nope, I just saw that on Facebook the other day.
Yes.
And I saw that y'all were getting the city to call and see what the deal was with the trash company. I mean, we probably know what it is, and it probably hasn't paid, and they're gonna leave the trash cans out there. They're not supposed to do that. They should have taken them up, called them off, dumped them, and picked them up.
I agree with you.
You know?
It was my understanding that the other ordinances that we had, were not sufficient to address this. And that is the reason that this was necessary to do. Am I correct, Kim?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that is why it's here. So the deal is we either approve it or don't approve it.
So we don't have any, so all those letters, the 2 letters, and I got some more letters too from Drew about health hazards. So We don't have a health, he was made that up.
No, not necessarily. I'm just saying that in the instance of this particular dumpster issue, it was not because, he could not see inside of it, he could not tell what it was, that was my understanding, that it could not, the code enforcement officer could not properly enforce the removal of it with the ordinances that we had in place. So it needed to be done in a separate ordinance, so that is what this is.
And then the other thing that I talk to people about, and this is the opinions that they have, and I'm talking about more the people that have been here longer than I've been here. I've been here 22 years or so. People that have been here longer than that, they're getting tired of having so many ordinances.
Well, Mr. Marindino, let me explain something to you. Those ordinances, there's only a couple of ordinances that have been done since you and I moved to Bevel Oaks. Most of these ordinances were put in place when shortly right after this city became a city. Now, some of them have been revised over the years because there were sections of them that needed to be updated in order to make them enforceable. But the majority of these ordinances, because I've read every one of them, was put in place back during the time that they were forming the city, because the intent was that this be a city where people could come and invest sizable amounts of money in areas that were restricted, and that it would be kept in a way that they felt comfortable that their investment would be safe. And that's what they expected us to do. That's what's taking place here tonight. We had a citizen complain, a valid complaint. He had investment in this city that he would like to see protected. Our ordinances that we had could not do that for him. So this is what this is for. And yes, we don't go around, trying to find every little thing, we don't go around policing all this stuff. But when there is an issue, we do need to be able to address that. And that's what this is for. So, like I said, the bottom line is, it's been put out here. You people either approve it or disapprove it. It's up to council.
There's a travel trailer. We had a big explosion around here with travel trailers being out here. We get kennels and
It's not the issue, we're not talking about RV.
It's an ordinance. It's an ordinance.
We're not talking about,
We're
we're talking about a dumpster ordinance.
This is what we're addressing right now.
And it's an ordinance, right?
We're
This is
talking
what
about a dumpster
we're
ordinance.
talking about whether to approve this or
I'm
not.
just asking you, are we gonna enforce this ordinance?
If
Is this
there-
gonna be the first one that we enforce?
We have enforced a lot of ordinances,
We're
Mr.
not enforcing
Marindino.
those building code ordinances.
Oh, yes, we're
I've
trying
watched
our
2
very best.
remodels and air conditioner be put in this last week.
Well, why didn't you report it to someone?
Have I ever reported it?
I'm sorry.
You have reported plenty.
Oh.
Yes, you've reported a lot.
Well,
How
why
many
did-
of you reported?
I have reported plenty too. I certainly have. When I see it, I report it.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I do. That's my job.
Travel trailers parked, no variance on the.
Well, is someone
Ran a
live-
guy right out of the city.
Is someone,
because he had-
is someone living in that travel trailer?
Yeah, their house flooded up.
No, they're living in the house. That travel trailer's been sitting there for years.
Hooked up.
It
A lot of them
is.
are hooked up.
A lot of them are hooked up, but they're,
Mine's hooked up, but I
I
don't think it-
verified that there's nobody living in that one, so you need to know. But anyway, we're back to this, and this is where we're gonna
Okay.
stay. Do I hear, well, is there any further comments about this? Okay.
And I'm not, the only thing, and I know something needed to be done about that dumpster that's sat down there for a long time, but it was just mishandled in my opinion. Okay,
That's your
what I want
opinion,
to
and
point
that's-
out.
that's
I mean,
fine.
It was a health hazard from the get-go, it should have been
You
treated.
entitled to your
She's been
opinion,
contacted numerous times.
and they certainly, yes, she certainly has. She's been talked to
Multiple
several
opportunities
times.
to address the issue and it hasn't been done. So that's, unfortunately, then we have to go to something like this because
Well, I'm just gonna abstain.
That's
I won't
fine.
vote against it. I
That's
just won't
fine.
vote.
Well, can we go to a vote, please? If there's no further comment, all in favor of approving this ordinance, please say aye.
Aye.
And we have one abstaining. Thank you, motion carried. Our next comment is, our next item on the agenda is the ordinance that we need to look at, and this is one that, when we get to it, this is a consideration and approval of ordinance number 247, which is an ordinance of the city of Bevel Oaks, changing the date for our general election of officers to the November uniform election date, providing for the extension of current offices, providing for severability and an effective date. And I need to tell you that this is something that it kind of came up on us, quicker than we thought. We had been hearing little rumors that this was coming. In fact, the county clerk's office had mentioned it last May, that this was something that they were looking at, and it was going to be happening in the future, but we didn't know that it was this near future. But I'm gonna let Kim explain this all to you all before we go any further, because I don't think she put enough in here, or she really didn't put anything in here, but she has been to court school the first week of December, and not court school, election school. And so this was handled by the Secretary of State, who is in charge of all of our elections. And so she got the complete lowdown on the total cost and everything of what it would cost for a small city like us to separate from the county clerks, us working with Jefferson County like we do now. Years ago, when I first got on council, I think it cost us about $600 to have an election out here. And that included paying the workers and everything, but of course that's when you could have paper ballots. Well, I think we have in our budget now about $9,000 for an election, because we have to have their electronic balloting, and we have to pay for all of this, the paperwork. We still have to pay for the clerks, and there's just a lot of things. Well, that just gets multiplied over and over. So Kim, if you would come and tell them how this thing grows, and where it would take us if we tried to do it by ourselves, which is why we need to adopt this ordinance. It's not necessarily something we want to do, because we kind of like being independent, but there comes a point in time where your budget just doesn't let you be independent.
May I say something before she presents this? Becky just told me when I came in, and it just got in a phone call that her grandmother passed away today, right before she came down here. And, Lonnie, will you say just a quick little prayer for Kim and her family for me?
Who?
Kim. You didn't
Oh,
hear me.
okay.
Kim's grandmother passed away.
Okay. And my father would take this time to ask you to be with this family as they go through their time of grief. We know that it's always hard to do, but we ask you to make it easier on them. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you.
We do appreciate Kim being with us tonight.
Hey, Miss Ashley, on that trash, I tell you what I'll do tomorrow, I'll go get those trash cans and move them somewhere else so they'll dump. How about that?
Well, I think Kim is.
I called them today.
They gonna dump?
I'm hoping they pick them up tomorrow, if not, it'll be next Friday, but they're trying to get it in the works to do it.
You move them to another house and they'll pick them up.
Okay.
Sits out with the weeks, and they kept putting more and more, and then the dogs started coming. I took pictures of dogs in the park.
Well, there was one night before last that little guy had been just a few inches taller. He would have had him some.
We're probably getting more garbage right now than Thanksgiving and then
Yeah.
the holidays. The next one will really be, Christmas will really be some trash.
Yeah.
Okay, so we went to election training the first week of December, and while we were there, one of the things that they had talked about was a lot of cities were moving from May to November elections, which we had heard because Carolyn Guidry of the county had made the comment at the last election when we were up there that she was considering not doing any more May elections or things, and that was coming up. And she just threw that out there and said, but she'd get to it with us some more. Well, we never heard anything else, so I thought, well, they'll give us time. No. So, that when we were at the trainings, they said that for anybody else who wants to go to the November elections, that you have to do it this year, by the end of 2016. You have to have had a November election, which means we have one November. So whenever I got to talking to them, I pulled them off to the side and I was talking to them and I said, so when do we have to do this? What do we have to do? They said you have to do an ordinance stating that you're moving to the November elections. Said what it means for the cities who choose not to go to November is that they are no longer, the county is no longer required to contract with them every other year. And eventually they'll get to where they're not required to contract with them every year, which means the county is going to say, no, we're not contracting with you because we're already doing runoff elections for the November elections, those kind of things. So I contacted Carolyn Guidry while we were in Austin. I called her and spoke to her, spoke to the mayor, and spoke to a bunch of people. And Sure enough, that's exactly what she's doing. So she sent me an email and said, I put it in the council's packets, that said that she will no longer be committed to giving us a May election. And that if we choose to go in May, that we would have to eat all the costs ourselves. So I started saying, okay, well, let's see what those costs are, because we paid last year right at $8,500 to contract with the county. And so I thought that was a lot of money. So I went and talked to the state requires us to use very specific voting equipment. Two of the companies were there. I talked to them. The lowest one was the company that the county actually uses. So I said, what would it cost us to use you if we went and did our own elections in May? I said, the exact same number that the county gives us, because it's required, and everything that we would need to go with it. And so they come back and say, well, it's going to be cheaper to rent it rather than purchasing, obviously, and it's $14,838 a year. Well, that's already double just about what it costs us for the county. And so I went back and talked to the Secretary of State and one of the attorneys that was there at the class and teaching, and I was talking to them, and they said that, you know, the thing about it is, that's not all. That's just the equipment, the training for the equipment, and setting it up for you. That's it. So if you need more training, it's another $2,600 a day for training for their equipment. It's $180 to put it in multiple languages, which is required to have it in Spanish as well. It's $1,000 for outside personnel out of regular hours, because if you do your own election, you are required to stay open till 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day that early voting, including Saturdays, is there. The office has to be open and somebody has to be there. You have to have security. We have to pay police officers to be there every night that they close in the whole 9 yards. We have election workers for early voting. We would, right now, the way it works with the county, because when we contract with the county, you are able to go to anywhere in the county that they have voted. You don't have to vote here in Bevel Oaks. Well, with this, you would have to vote here in Bevel Oaks. Therefore, we would have to be open every single day that early voting is listed. Whereas now, last year we were open 3 days, and if you wanted any of those other days, you could go to one of the other precincts. That's a little over $3,000 for those workers. You're looking at workers for election day. You've got election training where you have to train all the workers. Other books and materials that's not included with the rental. You also have to have 3 different boards. You have to have an early voting board. You have to have an election day ballot board. And now you have to have a signature board, which is a little over it's almost $7,000 for all those boards to pay, because you have to pay it for one of mine. The other thing is, they require, unless you get pre-approval from the state, and it takes several months to go through all the hoops and stuff, that every single person, the trainer, the workers, the boards, everybody is supposed to come from this precinct. So we're looking at having to find 30 to 35 people to work from Bevel Oaks for the election. So we're looking at a little over $31,000 to have our own May election. And that's minimum. That's the minimum. So, you're looking at 3 or 4 years worth of what it costs us to contract with the county. The other side to that, and talking to them, is with the county, you have to sign the contract ahead of time, because they're getting everything together and they're doing their whole 9 yards. And so we sign a contract saying, yes, we're going to use you as our contract. And should there not be any opposed and not have to have an election, we call them up and say, we don't have an election. Nobody's being opposed. So we're going to cancel. And it don't cost us anything. Okay? Because they're already using the equipment. They're already going to be out here at Bevel Oaks, for the other elections. Whereas if we contract with this rental company, I asked them and they said, no, you signed us a contract, you owe us $14,838, whether you have an election or not. So it is my opinion that we move to the November election.
Does that qualify as a no-brainer?
I think so. What it does mean for council, for everyone on council, is, all of you are currently serving May to May terms. What this will do is move your terms to November. So anybody who's up for the May elections will actually not be up till November elections. And then vice versa for the next year. You'll stay on to the November elections. Any questions?
I think one positive thing about it would be that I think we will have a better turnout for our elections, because people will be coming to vote for everything else. And, you know, when we have ours, a lot of times, that's all they're coming for, and they just don't bother to come.
Well, and you'll be able to do, you know, you've got all the other November elections, people want to vote for presidents and governors and all
the
that.
county offices.
Exactly, and plus, you still have the ability to, you don't wanna vote by votes, you can go
Yeah.
across the county and vote.
Didn't you say too that something else is coming down the pipe?
Yes,
In a
they
couple of
did.
years, we would have to
Yes.
even expand out to that.
They
which would
did
cost a lot
say,
more, too.
they said it's not required at this time, if we choose to stay with the May elections, that they are, you know, we're only required to do right here in Bubble Oaks. But that they are pushing and working toward, and really believe that the next few years, it will go to, if you're having a May election, you have to have ballots and the whole 9 yards in every place that the county has a precinct. So this 31,000 would turn into
That would be our whole budget.
150,
That would be our
200,000.
whole budget right there.
That's not in the works yet, but that is where they're going. And so,
It's apparent what they want us to do, isn't it?
they really want you to go to November election.
I think so.
And a November election doesn't cost us anything.
It'll
Oh,
cost
yeah.
us approximately $8,500, just like the May elections do, because we'll still contract with the county. Now, if we cancel, if nobody's opposed, then no, it doesn't cost us anything. It just costs us couple $100 for the books that we have to get ahead of time.
And if it's like it's been the last few years, that, you know, we're budgeting 9,000 because we started out at about 6,500 and it's inched up a little bit every year, you know, so probably it'll inch up a little more, but it's still way away from what that is.
Yes, ma'am.
If we do this and something happens that one of us has to get off of it, what happens in the meantime? Do you?
In that event, it would be just like it has been in the past, where you would turn in your resignation, whoever that may be, and then we would send it out to the citizens to let them know that there is a position open if you're interested in filling it through till the November election, to turn in, you know, your information and everything, and then the council would vote to appoint someone to.
No. Council doesn't vote, appoints that person.
Council,
Mayor
no.
appoints that person.
The council has to vote
Council has
to
to
appoint
vote.
that person.
It's presented to council. Mayor has never, ever voted.
Do they vote for it in a
Yes,
meeting
it-
here
yes,
or
There's some
outside?
lists.
No, you
That
vote
was
right
supposed to be
here.
right
You
here in
vote right
front of
here.
everybody.
The person's credentials, if you have more than one person that wants to do it, then
Then I would
you
give
look at all of them
everything
and you
to
vote on it.
So yeah, so if in the event that happened, then, you know, we would put it out there, and if 3 or 4 people decided they wanted to do that, then all of the council would get all of that information for each person. And, then council would vote and decide who to appoint at that point to finish out to the November election. However, that person would then be,
Then they'd have
if
to
they want
run.
to stay, they gotta run for that immediate.
So when Terry Stutterfield stepped down that time,
You voted right here in this thing for Thursday.
I put on.
Well, it's in the minutes, you did. Okay,
Well,
is any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move that we pass ordinance number
Do
247
I
and
have-
save a ton of money.
Do I hear a second on that motion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Okay. Thank you very much, Kim.
Good job. Meeting out there.
No, you were there. You were there. I'll pull it and she can show it to you. This has been discussed before. Okay, Ms. Nelson would like to report on community development.
Yes, we had a very successful Christmas in the park last weekend. A ton of people showed up. I've heard people, I wasn't able to attend last year because I was out of town, but I heard it sounds like the crowd increased over the year before. Barbara and Kim did a fantastic job. Barbara kind of headed the whole thing up, and then helping them out tremendously, setting everything up and running and getting everything coordinated was our mayor. And so with everybody pitching in, I mean, Doug was out here stringing lights and hooking up electric stuff, and it was a lot of work that was done, and we really appreciate everything you guys did. And I know the people who came had a really good time, and hopefully it's going to continue to grow. And on that note, we're going to start having community development meetings every month, the second Thursday of every month. It's going to be up here. That way it's a week before the council meeting. We have an opportunity to discuss anything that might need to be brought up at the council meeting the next week. So second Thursday of every month up here. I'd like to do it at 6:30, up here at 6:30 in this room. And they shouldn't take long, but the goal is to not have it be we're only gonna talk about this and we're only gonna talk about that. It's gonna be covering everything. You know, the different committees for different events will give a report if there's something going on with that committee, on where they are, what's coming up and what's going on, so that everybody else is on the same page, and we can pull volunteers from different areas to help with different events. So that is coming up, and then we'll be able to talk about, you know, things that we can change and improve and do differently next year for Christmas in the Park. I know we'll be discussing that at this next meeting, and we're open to ideas on how to grow the parade. That's an area that we see a lot of potential, and we haven't realized that potential just yet for the parade. And the last thing is Christmas Yard of the Month is something we had done in the past. I think the last couple of years it had sort of fizzled, but
We had one last year.
we did have one last year. Okay, I thought it was a year or two where it just kind of, there wasn't a lot, but Ms. Hubert has been driving around and has found some,
The mayor and Charlotte and I have
yep,
a lot of pretty yards.
and you came up with 3 finalists, I understand, and letters are being sent out to those that qualified, a bunch of people who just did a fantastic job, and they just wanted to acknowledge the decorations that they did. The 3 finalists are going to get recognition for that, and I believe all these pictures are on our website. And I'll try to share that link on the Facebook as well, so y'all can see some of the beautiful decorations that people have done in the neighborhood, and maybe get some inspiration for next year, and we can beef up the competition. So,
We have a lot of new families in the neighborhood, and a lot of them have really decorated, and, you know, we just felt like that we really needed to encourage, you know, since, you know, this is their first Christmas out here, and, but it really looks nice all over. We've just got some outstanding decorations. You know, I don't know how they chose, honestly, there's a lot of them, and of course it was hard to get the pictures because our street lights, we love our street lights, but it's sure hard to get a picture with a street light. I mean, they want to glare and look foggy and everything, so we didn't get, Jane took a lot more pictures than we. Oh yeah, and the Fountains down here, honestly, theirs is prettier, I think, than it's probably ever been, in spite of them actually having just flooded. But they have got, I've just never seen so many lights. They really did. You just can't even get, I don't know what kind of angle lens you'd have to get all of it in, you know, I mean, it's gotta be this way and that way.
Good old big.
Is anything on the grant?
I'm sorry?
Anything on the grant? Any names on the grant?
No, no word yet. It's gonna probably be.
I think it's gonna be nice before we do it.
Just, you know,
I
keep
think
crossing
that's
your
it.
fingers and your toes and
No.
everything you can think of.
I think that's gonna be nice.
Santos did all the cooking. Do we pay Santos to do that? Or does he do volunteer?
He's a volunteer.
Then we need to be sure that his name was.
Yes,
mentioned
also, yeah, they do a lot of work.
Outstanding job.
Good preparation.
Yeah.
Our local businesses, make sure you thank them and, you know, patronize them because they really stepped up. I mean, we put out, hey, does anybody want to donate a gift certificate? And
Nice prize.
it was
How many did
fantastic.
you have, 13, 14? It was a good
Oh, no,
night.
it's like 20.
It was 20? Wow, I knew you had plenty. There was a lot.
There were too many adults on the catwalk.
That's what I
Some of the kids were standing on the side going, I'm telling them, go get your spot. And you're like, okay.
There were more people than there were spots.
Yeah.
Well, I understand she's gonna put it outside next year and have a huge circle.
We're gonna have to have, yeah, at least 100 of them.
Well, they won't move.
Everybody's like, I know it.
They don't want to go and step off their spot until the person in front of them has moved off the spot ahead of them. So yeah, we'll work on the cakewalk for next year.
Some were 3 and 4 on one spot.
Yeah, they really.
Well, I tell you, you know, when you have from 3 weeks old to Lord knows how old,
Right.
that's a pretty successful event, and they stayed and had a great time.
Yeah. We need more cakes.
Yeah.
That seems to be the highlight. That is.
That's good.
So that's my report.
Well, thank you so much, and thank all of y'all for coming. And, oh, you,
Can I ask a question? Since you're just starting to do the monthly meetings, are you gonna do at least the first one, the Blackboard call out, so everybody knows?
Yeah.
I think she
we'll-
could do
yeah,
every one
we'll
of
do
them
that for
that
the
way.
first
Yeah.
one, and we're gonna have have an agenda and everything posted, because it's going to be, I'm gonna have these as official scheduled posted meetings, and that way anybody can attend, and we don't have to worry about having too many council members there or any of that kind of stuff. This
Well,
is
she
still-
can do that each time until people get the hang of it.
Yeah, but yeah, because I want to encourage, and please, if you know anybody who said, I might want to try to do this or that, please encourage them to try to come to one if they want to get more involved in the community and what's going on around here.
What time did you say that was?
6:30,
Thank you.
Thursdays.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Well, Merry Christmas to all and have a wonderful, yes.